Janie Bradford was there before Motown became the global empire we remember today. She watched a small dream grow into one of the most influential record companies in history. She wrote songs that crossed generations, worked alongside Berry Gordy, and helped create the soundtrack of millions of lives. Yet despite her enormous contribution, Janie Bradford never became a household name in the way many of the artists she wrote for did. Her story was quieter, but it was no less important. Born in Charleston, Missouri, in 1939, Janie Bradford later moved to Detroit, the city where her life would change forever. Detroit was becoming a center of creativity and ambition, and Janie arrived with something that could not easily be taught, a natural gift for words. Her connection to the future of Motown came through Jackie Wilson, who knew Janie and introduced her to a young songwriter named Berry Gordy. At the time, Gordy was still building his dream. There was no worldwide Motown empire yet. There were no legendary tours, no museum celebrating the label's history, and no guarantee that his small company would survive. But Janie believed in creativity, and her meeting with Gordy opened a door that would change music history. In 1958, she joined the young Motown operation as a receptionist. It might have seemed like an ordinary job, answering phones and handling office responsibilities, but Motown was not an ordinary workplace. In those early years, everyone was involved in building something. Ideas were everywhere. Songs could begin with a conversation, a melody, a joke, or a line written on a piece of paper. Janie Bradford quickly proved that she had much more to offer than administrative work. She had a sharp mind, a talent for lyrics, and an understanding of emotion. She knew that the best songs did not simply contain words. They contained feelings people recognized. One of the defining moments of her career came when she worked with Berry Gordy on a song that would become one of Motown's earliest breakthroughs. Money, That's What I Want. The song was recorded by Barrett Strong in 1959 and became an important early hit for the growing Motown sound. Its theme was simple and instantly understandable. Love and romance were wonderful, but life also came with bills and financial pressure. That honesty helped make the song memorable. Years later, Money would travel far beyond Detroit. The Beatles recorded their own version, introducing the song to another generation of listeners. The fact that a song created during Motown's earliest days could continue to be recorded and celebrated decades later showed just how lasting Janie's work had become. But one successful song was not the end of her contribution. Janie Bradford continued writing and collaborating with some of the greatest artists associated with Motown. Her work was connected to performers including Stevie Wonder, Mary Wells, The Supremes, Martha and the Vandellas, Diana Ross and the Temptations. Another major song connected to her legacy was Too Busy Thinking About My Baby. The song was first recorded by the Temptations before Marvin Gaye turned it into a major hit in 1969. It was the kind of song Motown did so well, emotional, rhythmic, and immediately relatable. The world often remembers the singer standing under the spotlight. But a songwriter has a different kind of power. A songwriter creates the words the singer must make the audience believe. A songwriter can create a feeling that becomes part of someone's memory for the rest of their life. That was Janie Bradford's gift. She spent more than 2 decades connected to Motown and eventually became head of writer relations for Joe Beat, Motown's publishing company. This was an important role because songwriting was at the heart of the Motown machine. Behind every hit record was a complicated creative process involving writers, publishers, producers, and performers. Janie understood that world because she had helped build it. Her career was not only about collecting songwriting credits. It was about supporting the people who created the music. She had seen the industry from the inside, beginning with the smallest jobs and eventually becoming one of the important figures behind Motown's creative legacy. And after her years at Motown, Janie did not simply disappear from public life. She continued working to honor artists and help younger generations. She founded the Heroes and Legends Awards, an event that celebrated important entertainment figures while also supporting scholarships for students pursuing opportunities in the performing arts. For around 3 decades, the awards became part of her mission to give recognition to people whose work deserved to be remembered. That mission said something important about Janie herself. Perhaps because she knew what it was like to be an important figure who was not always standing in the spotlight, she understood the value of recognition. Music history is filled with people who created unforgettable moments but were rarely as famous as the stars who performed them. Janie wanted legends to be remembered. Her own life also contained a more private side. While much of her public legacy focused on music, her family life remained important to her. Janie Bradford later became known as Janie Bradford Hobbs, and she was married to Wardine Hobbs. Unlike many celebrity marriages that unfold in front of cameras and gossip columns, Janie's relationship was largely kept away from public drama. There is little evidence of the kind of scandal-filled love life that sometimes surrounds famous people in the entertainment industry. Instead, what is known is that she built a family and remained connected to the people closest to her. She was survived by her husband, Wardine Hobbs, as well as her daughter Nicole Hobbs, her son Lance Finney, and 2 grandsons. That detail gives us another perspective on her life. Janie was not only a songwriter, executive, and Motown pioneer. She was also a wife, mother, and grandmother. For someone who helped create music about love, longing, and human relationships, her own life appears to have had a strong private foundation. As the years passed, Janie continued to receive recognition for her contribution to music. In June 2026, she was inducted into the Women's Songwriters Hall of Fame, a fitting acknowledgement for a woman whose words had helped shape the sound of an entire era. Berry Gordy himself remembered her as someone who had been there from the beginning, before Motown became what the world would eventually know. That is an extraordinary thing to be remembered for. Janie Bradford was present when the dream was still uncertain. She saw the early struggles. She saw the company grow. She saw young performers become international stars. She watched Motown change American music and influence popular culture around the world. And through it all, she contributed her own words, ideas, and determination. But in the final chapter of her life, Janie faced a difficult health battle. Her family announced that Janie Bradford Hobbs had been dealing with an extended illness. Public reports confirmed that she had been hospitalized in Los Angeles, but detailed information about the specific illness was not publicly disclosed. It is important to make that distinction because reports described a prolonged illness without identifying a particular disease. Then came the news that saddened the Motown world. Janie Bradford Hobbs died on August 21, 2026, at the age of 87, following her extended illness. Her family announced her death the following day. Reports said she died at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. So, what was Janie Bradford's cause of death? The publicly reported cause was complications or effects associated with an extended illness, but no specific medical condition was publicly identified by her family in the initial announcements. In other words, while her death followed a prolonged illness, a more detailed medical cause was not publicly released. Her passing marked the loss of one of Motown's earliest and most important behind-the-scenes figures. Janie Bradford may not have stood on stage night after night, but her words did. They traveled through radios, record players, concert halls, and family homes. They were sung by some of the greatest voices of the 20th century. And even when listeners did not know her name, they were often hearing a piece of her creativity. That may be the most powerful part of her legacy. Fame can disappear. Headlines can fade. But a great song can outlive generations. Janie Bradford helped build Motown when it was still just a dream, and her contribution to that dream will continue to be heard whenever the music she helped create plays again. Rest in peace to Janie Bradford Hobbs, a songwriter, a Motown pioneer, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and one of the unsung women behind a musical revolution. If you enjoyed learning about Janie Bradford's remarkable life and legacy, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories about the people behind the music we love. And let us know in the comments, which Motown song do you think deserves to be remembered forever?